Welcome back to the Historian's Chamber. If you're into hidden rebellions, unsung warlords, and the moments Rome nearly lost control, then this one's for you. Today, we're diving into one of the Roman Empire's most underrated uprisings, a rebellion so serious, so well orchestrated, that it almost tore a chunk right out of the empire, yet barely anyone talks about it. This is the story of the Batavian Revolt, and the man who led it, Gaius Julius Civilis, a name that should stand right alongside Spartacus and Boudica, but somehow doesn't, until now. Let's set the scene. The year is 69 AD. Rome is in chaos. Nero is dead, and the empire is spiraling into what we now call the Year of the Four Emperors. In the span of 12 months, Rome burns through four rulers, Galba, Otho, Vitellius, and finally Vespasian. Civil war is everywhere. The legions are divided, everyone's picking sides. And while Rome's eyes are locked on itself, someone up north sees an opportunity. Enter the Batavians, a Germanic tribe living in what is now the Netherlands. They're not outsiders, they're actually allies of Rome. Technically part of the empire. They serve in the auxiliary units. They're loyal, or at least they were. But something had been brewing for a while. The Batavians were tough, disciplined, and highly valued by Rome, so much so that they were overused, overtaxed, and often underappreciated, and their local leader, a man named Civilis, a Batavian noble, a Roman citizen, a veteran of Roman wars, and someone who, by all accounts, had been pushed too far. Civilis had been arrested twice by Roman authorities, accused of rebellion and released only after pleading his case. He saw the writing on the wall. Rome didn't trust him, and he no longer trusted Rome. With the empire distracted by internal warfare, Civilis made his move. He raised the Batavian banner, not in open rebellion at first, but under the claim that he was supporting Vespasian in his bid for emperor. Smart move. It gave him political cover. But that cover didn't last long. Civilis wasn't just stirring up trouble, he was building a movement. Using his Roman training, he organized a disciplined rebellion. He called upon neighboring tribes. He persuaded other auxiliary units, made up of fellow Batavians and Germanic soldiers, to defect. Many did, and just like that, a new army was born. Not a mob, not a scattered rebellion, but a real military force, led by a man who knew how to fight like a Roman and how to beat them. One of the most critical moments came at the siege of Castrovetera. This was a Roman fort located near what's now Xanten, Germany. It held 2 Roman legions, thousands of men. Civilis laid siege, no frontal assaults, no reckless charges. He starved them out, cut off supplies, waited, and when reinforcements came from Rome, his rebels ambushed them in the woods. Classic guerrilla tactics. Swift, deadly, devastating. The Roman reinforcements were crushed, the siege tightened. Eventually, the legions inside surrendered. Some sources say Civilis promised them safe passage. Others say they were massacred as they left. Either way, it was a massive victory for the rebellion, a blow to Roman pride, and a warning to any Roman commander who thought this uprising would fizzle out. Civilis wasn't done. He pressed forward. More forts fell, more auxiliaries defected, even some Gallic tribes to the south began considering their own independence. This wasn't just a rebellion anymore. It was the potential birth of a new empire, a post-Roman state led by the very people Rome had once conquered and trained. But rebellions rarely last forever, especially when Rome gets its act together. By late 70 AD, the new emperor Vespasian had secured power. The civil wars were over, and he sent reinforcements north, commanded by a general named Quintus Petilius Cerealis. Cerealis was experienced, calculating, and very aware that this rebellion had gone far beyond a tribal dispute. He moved swiftly, retook territory, pushed the Batavians back. Civilis, despite his victories, found himself on the defensive. One final confrontation loomed. Some sources suggest it happened on the banks of the River Waal. Others are vague. The details are fuzzy. But what's clear is that Civilis realized he couldn't win a drawn-out war against a fully mobilized Roman Empire, and so he negotiated. We don't know exactly how the negotiations went. The Roman historian Tacitus, who gives us much of what we know about this revolt, ends his account abruptly. But it's believed that Civilis surrendered under relatively favorable terms. Rome reabsorbed the Batavians, the rebellion was over, but this wasn't a failure. The Batavian Revolt shook the empire. It exposed how fragile Roman control could be when leadership wavered. It showed that auxiliary troops, non-Romans trained in Roman warfare, could become the empire's worst nightmare. And Civilis? He walked away from it all alive. That alone speaks volumes. His rebellion didn't destroy the empire, but it forced Rome to reevaluate its borders, its loyalties, and how it treated its allies. So why don't we hear more about him? Why isn't Gaius Julius Civilis a household name like Spartacus? Maybe because his rebellion was smart, strategic, and ultimately resolved without a dramatic final battle. Maybe because it didn't end with a mountain of Roman skulls or a fiery last stand. But that makes it no less important. This was a rebellion that nearly created a new European power. A revolt led by someone who knew Rome from the inside and almost beat it from the outside. If you're into stories that challenge what you thought you knew about Rome, Civilis and the Batavian Revolt deserve a place at the top of your list. Thanks for watching The Historian's Chamber. If you like this dive into forgotten revolts and near misses in Roman history, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap that notification bell so you never miss a story centering Rome hoped we'd forget. See you next time.